I'm going to make a pretty quick video just on bleeding brakes. Here's everything you're going to need: just brake fluid, a wrench for the bleed screw. My particular front brake master or reservoir has a Phillips head screw on the front, so I've got that here just to get that off, and something to collect the old brake fluid as it's coming out. So basically I'm going to begin on the back tire here, back brake. I've got it set up. I'm just going to take the bleed screw thing off, take the cap off the reservoir, and I'm basically ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to open the bleed screw just a little bit, press down on the brake, and close it back up. And continue this process a couple of times. And then go ahead and refill some into the reservoir so that we don't get any air pockets. And continue the bleeding. And we're starting to hit some of the blue since I changed up the color. Just going to add a little more back in. And continue bleeding. And you can see now the fluid coming out is all blue. Which means we've completely gotten out all the old fluid. So once you're sure there's no more air in the line, go ahead and make sure your fluid is at the proper level. and you're all set. The front brakes are going to be a little different since they're slightly more complex. We're going to bleed the master cylinder here first, and then the general rule is you do the farthest caliper first. So I'm going to bleed rider's left caliper from here, and then the closer right one from here. Sorry about the angles on these, I'm only one person. Alright, so same as before, we're going to open this bleed screw in the master cylinder, push in the brake, close the screw, and let go. Open, brake, close, let go. And you might notice an abnormally high amount of air that came out on that first one, and that's because these are brand new brake lines and I haven't fully bled them from installation yet. Hopefully yours won't have that much air. So I'm going to do this for a little while until my reservoir is dry, or mostly dry, and then add in my new fluid and start running it through. It's going to take a little while though. Now the master cylinder bleeding is done. We've got blue fluid coming out of the bleed screw just before I closed it off. I replaced the cap, and I'm going to move on to the brake calipers. Again, rider's left first because it's the farthest. Moving on, I've got everything hooked up for this one. So we're going to go ahead again. This one's a bit of a reach to the handlebars. But same as before. Open and shut. Open, push in the brake, close it, and let go of the brake. We're just going to do this until we've got blue coming out from the new fluid. And we're good to go on this one. Remember, as you're bleeding these, make sure the reservoir doesn't fall below the lower line, just so you don't get any air back in the lines as you're bleeding them. But now we're set up for this side, and I'll be back in just a second to finish that off, and then we're all done. All ready to go. Open, brake, close, let go. Looks like that one's all done. Quick as that. So now everything's back to normal. We'll just top off the reservoir and we are pretty much all done here. Just put all your caps and screws back on, put all your lids back on the reservoirs, make sure everything's tight, make sure your brakes work, and you're ready to ride.